The little girl couldn't have been older than 7. She ran across the front yard with sunlight dancing through her golden ponytail, holding a folded piece of paper in her tiny hand as if it were the most important thing in the world. I smiled, expecting another child's drawing, but the second I unfolded it, my heart stopped. 3 shaky words were written in red crayon beneath a crooked heart. Please save Mommy. In that single moment, the cheerful Saturday afternoon around me seemed to disappear. The laughter of children faded. The warm breeze felt cold. I looked toward the small white house across the street, and suddenly I realized that behind those freshly painted walls and blooming flowers, someone might be silently begging for help. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, second chances, and ordinary people can change someone else's life forever, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Kindness Touches Hearts. Every act of support helps us bring more heartwarming stories to people around the world. My name is Nathan Brooks, a 36-year-old landscape gardener who had spent most of his life believing that hard work could solve almost anything. Every morning began with sunlight, freshly cut grass, and neighborhoods waking up to another ordinary day. After losing my wife to cancer 4 years earlier, I buried myself in work because staying busy hurt less than sitting alone in an empty house. The people on Maple Street knew me as the quiet man who always waved, helped elderly neighbors trim hedges, and never charged single parents when they couldn't afford yard work. I never imagined that one ordinary afternoon would completely change my understanding of courage. The family across the street had moved in only 2 months before. The mother, whose name I later learned was Sarah, rarely spoke to anyone. She always looked exhausted, wearing oversized sweaters even on warm afternoons, her dark hair tied into a hurried bun. Her little daughter, Ava, was the complete opposite. She smiled at everyone, chased butterflies across the yard, and greeted every neighbor as though they were lifelong friends. Yet there was something strange about the way Sarah constantly looked over her shoulder before speaking, as if someone invisible was always watching. That Saturday I had volunteered to rake leaves for Mr. Henderson, an elderly widower recovering from knee surgery. The sky was perfectly blue, birds filled the air with cheerful songs, and children rode bicycles along the sidewalks. Everything looked peaceful. Then Ava walked through the open gate carrying that folded note. She looked happy, almost excited, never realizing the weight of what she had placed into my hands. When I looked back toward Sarah, our eyes met for only a brief second. Her expression changed instantly. She wasn't angry. She wasn't surprised. She looked terrified. Before I could even raise the note, she quickly forced a nervous smile and hurried Ava back toward the porch. It happened so fast that anyone else would have dismissed it as nothing. But I had seen fear before. My wife had carried that same silent fear during her final months, pretending everything was fine so the people she loved wouldn't worry. The rest of the afternoon I couldn't concentrate. Every pile of leaves I gathered seemed heavier than the last. Every glance toward the White House filled me with questions. Was the note simply a child's imagination? Had Ava written it after watching too many dramatic television shows? Or was it exactly what it appeared to be, a desperate cry hidden inside innocent handwriting because a child didn't know any other way to ask for help? Late that evening I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. A black pickup truck pulled into the driveway. A large man climbed out, slamming the driver's door so hard the sound echoed across the neighborhood. Even from my porch I could hear shouting coming from inside the house a few minutes later. The curtains remained closed, but the angry voices carried through the quiet evening air. Moments later everything went silent. Too silent. Sleep never came easily that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ava's tiny hand offering me that folded piece of paper. I kept asking myself the same question. What if I ignored it and something terrible happened? What if I overreacted and embarrassed an innocent family? The uncertainty felt unbearable. The following morning sunlight filled the neighborhood again, making everything appear normal. Sarah was outside hanging laundry while Ava played with sidewalk chalk near the driveway. I walked across the street pretending to return a gardening tool I claimed had rolled into their yard. Sarah thanked me politely but refused to make eye contact. As she reached for the rake, her sleeve slipped down just enough for me to notice dark bruises circling her wrist. She quickly pulled the sleeve back into place. At that moment, every doubt disappeared. I didn't ask questions. I didn't pressure her. Instead, I simply told her that if she ever needed help, my front porch light stayed on every night. She nodded politely without saying anything, but tears gathered in her eyes before she turned away. Over the next week I found small reasons to be nearby. I mowed Mr. Henderson's lawn more slowly than necessary. I watered flowers longer than they needed watering. I waved whenever Ava played outside. Little by little she began leaving tiny drawings in my mailbox. Pictures of flowers, smiling suns, birds, and houses. Hidden inside nearly every drawing was another small message. Sometimes it simply read, "Mommy cries." Another said, "She smiles only when he's gone." None of them accused anyone directly, yet together they painted a heartbreaking picture that no child should ever have been forced to draw. One bright Tuesday afternoon everything changed. The neighborhood was enjoying another beautiful day when I heard glass shatter from across the street. Birds scattered into the air. Ava ran outside crying harder than I had ever heard a child cry before. Sarah stumbled onto the porch moments later, clutching her arm. Behind them stood the angry man, his face twisted with rage before he noticed every neighbor staring at him. Something remarkable happened then. Instead of pretending not to notice, the entire neighborhood quietly stepped forward. Mr. Henderson came out with his walking cane. Mrs. Alvarez left her garden without hesitation. The mail carrier stopped delivering letters. Parents paused while pushing strollers. Without planning it, nearly 20 ordinary people simply stood together in complete silence. The man looked around and realized every eye was fixed on him. For the first time, he seemed uncertain. Bullies are often strongest when their victims feel alone. That afternoon, Sarah wasn't alone anymore. I walked calmly toward the porch while keeping my voice steady. I reminded Sarah that my offer still stood and that there were people ready to help whenever she decided she deserved a safer life. She looked around at every familiar face surrounding her home. Tears rolled down her cheeks as years of fear finally began breaking apart. She took Ava's hand. Then she slowly walked down the porch steps. No one applauded. No one celebrated. Instead, neighbors quietly surrounded the mother and daughter, creating a circle of kindness stronger than fear. That evening Sarah and Ava stayed safely with Mrs. Alvarez while local authorities handled the situation. It wasn't the ending of every problem, but it was the beginning of a new life neither of them believed was possible. Months passed, and autumn slowly gave way to spring. Sarah found a new job at the local library. Ava started smiling even brighter than before. Their little white house became filled with flowers instead of fear. Every weekend neighbors gathered for picnics, birthdays, and community cleanups, proving that healing often grows where compassion is planted first.